Good afternoon. My name is Aretha, and I have followed the case of George Fatheree helping the Bruce family retrieve their land. My mom, she left an inheritance for all of us, but the land was stolen by oil companies. The land has oil and gas on it. I recently have learned that the papers where two of the people did not sell their land, the other people were tricked out of the land. Anyways, at 70 years old, I'd like to retrieve that land for future generations. This is like a desperate plea for help. My understanding is it's 352 acres of land, oil and gas. If you can help me, please call me back. You have a blessed night. And I thank you for helping the Bruces retrieve their land. It was well deserved. Thank you.
It was a day that changed everything. Charles and Willa Bruce had built a dream, a thriving beach resort where Black families found joy and refuge in a segregated world. But on that day in 1924, the city came knocking. Their land was to be seized, their dreams erased under the guise of eminent domain. They were told it would become a public park. But the truth was clear. This wasn't about public use. It was about silencing a community, breaking their progress, and ensuring that Black prosperity had no place here. But the story didn't end there. Instead, this story endured for over 100 years, and in 2022, the Bruce's story inspired something that had never before happened in United States history. The government returned Bruce's beach to the descendants of Charles and Willa Bruce.
It was kind of fulfilling in a way that this story arc went almost 100 years. So having our land back was momentous, but it was also bittersweet because of all these tragic events that happened along the way.
But this story is just one chapter in a much larger history, a history of land taken, legacies erased, and communities uprooted. Over the past century, Black-owned land has been lost through systemic racism and discrimination. Every year that goes by, these stories disappear. Opportunities are gone forever. The chance to heal is gone. The chance for justice is gone. That is, until now. Inspired by the Shoah Foundation, which preserved the voices of Holocaust survivors, the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project seeks to collect, preserve, and amplify stories of Black land loss. Over the next 5 years, we will gather over 1,000 narratives to create an enduring digital archive that educates, inspires, and advocates for justice.
After our legal team was successful in recovering the land for the Bruce family in the Bruce's Beach case, which to this day is the first and only time in U.S. history that the government's returned property to a Black family, I started getting emails and voice messages every day from families across the country, mostly African-American families. The calls said, Attorney Fatheree, we had 40 acres of oil land in Louisiana, and when my great-grandfather died, the neighbor forged his name on the deed and we lost everything. Or Attorney Fatheree, we had a 100-acre cattle ranch in Texas, and one day the sheriff showed up on our porch with guns and dogs and said if we didn't leave town, there'd be trouble. I received hundreds of these messages.
Understand, please, historically, that in 1926 and 1937, if you were an African American and you owned land, and there was a need, quote unquote, for a road or something else, somebody didn't come to you and beg you for your land. They basically just said, you're gonna give it to us. And they exacerbated that particular taking and sort of eminent domain abuse by saying it's an honor to give your land for a public roadway.
My father came out here, I think in 1948 from Louisiana. He came to Bremerton. They bought the property and it was 10 acres in 1953. The Renton School District, almost from the start, I guess, said they wanted the land, and my parents refused. First house we lived in was set on fire. The second fire, I think it was 1965. The Renton School District continued to kind of badger my parents into selling, and they still said no. Then there was a explosive set off on our front porch. So they eventually sold. The Renton School District said they wanted it for a new school. They never built a school, and they turned around and sold it to a Bellevue developer who built 200 homes on the land.
Even though I realized that our legal system couldn't provide justice, couldn't provide a remedy, what concerned me was all of these emails and all of these voice messages. Every year that goes by, we lose these stories as the grandmothers pass away, as the story keepers pass. That was really the genesis for the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project. I wanted to be able to preserve these stories. I wanted to make sure that they are not lost.
Bruce's Beach is more than a place. It's a reminder, a call to listen, to learn, and to act. We invite all those impacted by Black land loss to visit the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project website and share your story. Bruce's Beach showed us the incredible power of stories to change hearts and minds, to call those empowered to action towards healing and towards justice. It's time to preserve thousands of more stories to honor the past and inspire the future. Join us, and together, we can make history.